Carlos Nelson with Cascade Sports. And today we have special guest, Mr. Reggie Harris. He has a new company. Is this a new company, Reggie? Or how long have you had it?
Yeah, Playbook Expert. It's been around for a little over a year, about a year and a half when I founded it.
All right. Playbook Expert. Tell our audience a little bit about who you are, Reggie, and then talk about your company. Let's go back to kindergarten. And as I say on most of our interviews, talk about some of the people that helped you achieve the goals that you've achieved in life.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So I was originally born and raised in South Florida. So I'm from a little small town outside of Vero Beach, Florida, which baseball fans know Vero Beach for Dodger Town, because that's where the Dodgers moved their spring training to once Jackie Robinson started playing with them, looking for an environment that was more conducive for being able to integrate him into their system. But I lived just outside of Vero Beach in a small town called Gifford. And one of my buddies from down south used to always say, yeah, you're literally from the other side of the tracks. You know how those old southern towns were back then? The railroad track went right through town. On one side was Vero. That's where all, I'll call them a majority, lived. And then all the black folk, we lived on the other side of the tracks, right? So while I was in elementary school, growing up in those early years, I had a grandfather that had worked on the railroads, worked out in the Florida groves, never graduated high school. He was from Georgia. He was one of those that were a little bit taller in stature. So back then, when you hit 5th, 6th grade and you were a big scrapping lad, they put you out in the cotton fields. So he never graduated. He insisted all of his grandkids were going to graduate high school. We're going to get an education. You didn't skip school. You didn't skip church. You were going to play the straight and narrow. From my youngest memory of him, that was always the criteria. So one of the things that happened during that time, obviously I'm focused on that, but another one of these key differentiators in how I've grown up and why I have my priorities set the way that I do. When I'm in 1st grade, I find out that I have a hearing problem. So I was one of these kids that always liked to kind of outsmart the system, you know? So, back in the day when they used to do your hearing tests, they'd have the person looking directly at you and they push this little button. And when you're supposed to hear, they always look up at you. So I know, hey, when they look up at me, I'm supposed to raise my hand that I heard something. So I had faked out the hearing test for like 2 years. They never figured it out. And then one day, this lady figures out something here is not exactly right. So she turned me around where I couldn't see when she was looking up, expecting for my hand to go up. Come to find out, I was born deaf in my right ear, completely deaf. So at the time, I pronounced words a little incorrectly. They go to my parents and say, your child has to go in a special needs class. If he's ever going to speak correctly, he has to go to special needs class. And I'm getting to the point on why I'm telling you this story. So my parents came back in and they told me what the situation was, laid it all out. And I'm like 6, 7 years old, not completely comprehending. I'm just doing what my parents are telling me. My parents tell me, you're not going to special education class. You're a Black male in the South. You already have enough against you. If we label you special, it's going to hold you back even further. So we're just going to work harder than everybody else. We're going to spend more time with you. We're going to drill more with you. We're going to make it work to where you never appear not to be like everybody else. So I was never allowed to use that as a crutch. I was never allowed to use that as an excuse on why I couldn't achieve. So now I've got granddad telling us, you're going to school, you're going to have an education. I got my parents telling me, Nothing that you ever come up against are you going to use as an excuse. You have to figure out a way to be successful and strive. You don't use color of your skin. You don't use how you were born. You don't use your zip code. That motivated me. Now, fast forward a few years, I wanted to be a professional football player. That was my goal in life. And I always tell people, you emulate what you see. So I was growing up in Florida in the late 70s. Tampa Bay Buccaneers had this starting quarterback from Grambling State University named Doug Williams. So I see Doug Williams as a starting quarterback for my favorite football team. In my mind, that means I can be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I didn't realize if you were Black, you weren't supposed to be a quarterback, because that's who I saw on TV every week. That's what the visuals and the communication that I saw was, the top guy on the team is Black. Why can't I be? So these influences start coming back. I grew up in a town that was largely charged by Jackie Robinson in the day. Now I'm watching a Black quarterback. I want to be in pro sports. You know what my dad told me? I tell him he's an old man now trying to get into heaven, so he'll deny that he said it. But he sits me down when I'm like a freshman in high school. He says, son, you know what? I love that you love sports and that you want to be in football. You're not big enough, strong enough, fast enough to be a professional football player, but you're smart enough to find out something to do with your brain. So if you really want to be in sports, you figure out that path into sports using your brain instead of the athletic performance. I'm 14, 15, crazy old man. I'm gonna make it to the league. You don't know what you're talking about. About 2 knee injuries later, I get a scholarship to the University of Missouri, Kansas City, academic scholarship to go into their business school, got a degree in accounting. So I tell you, that's the backstory. Excuse me. That's how I came through school, had this passion for doing things that I want to do, but now I've got a degree in accounting. I go to work for one of the largest accounting firms in the world, Arthur Andersen, right out of college. How do you end up in sports from that? Well, the funny thing about business is, in business, if you understand the fundamentals of business, it translates to any industry. Doesn't matter whether it's sports, whether it's building a widget, whether it's a construction company, whether it's an art studio, the basic fundamentals of business are the same. If you know how to run a balance sheet, run an income statement, you know how to run a business. So I took what I learned from working in public accounting. I was an entrepreneurial consulting group for both Arthur Andersen and Ernst Young. I took that, and when the opportunity came up for me to get into sports, I made the jump. I got an NFL player to hire me to run his life like a business. So I put a business structure around him and said, we're going to run profit and loss statements for you. We're going to have budgets. We're going to have planning. We're going to manage all of your investments. We're going to manage all of your professionals around you. He's got an accountant, an attorney, an assistant, financial advisor, mom's on payroll, part owner in a construction company, part owner in an investment. You get the picture. He had a lot of stuff going on. We organized his life like a business. So the company that I have today is called Playbook Expert. Playbook Expert was originally conceived to continue to work with that professional athlete, former professional athlete, to help them run their lives and give them a way to operate professionally and as a business, and not just on the field. But Carlos, here's something interesting that I found out in dealing with people. And this is a saying that I like to use. Most people have a dream. We all have a dream, but we don't all have a playbook. How are you going to get to your dream? How are you going to get to that destination if you don't know the right plays to call? Okay. So Playbook Expert has taken on this dimension of not just working with sports athletes and sports professionals, but then taking that message and communicating it to entrepreneurs, to students trying to decide what they want to be in life and be able to come to you and say, I forwarded you just before we got on camera today. I know you haven't had a chance to look at your email yet, but I forwarded you an ebook that I wrote called 5 Must-Have Plays for Success. And I wrote that along with the guy that played in the NBA. And our goal behind that was to tell people, you got to have those 5 plays. This is where it came from. And then I'll let you ask me a question. I'll shut up because I know I'm rambling.
No, go on. I'm saying this is an interview about you.
Yeah. So I was general manager just before COVID hit. I'm general manager of an indoor football team up in Iowa. And my head coach and I are sitting in a room going over game film. And we're talking about our quarterbacks and who's going to start. And he says to me, part of his preparation for his quarterbacks is he asked them for their top 5 plays. He says, I want you to come in, bring me a playbook, give me your top 5 plays. I said, okay, why is that? He said, because here's what I know. At some point in the game, everything's going to go crazy. It's going to be moving too fast. Your adjustments are going to be off. If you have 5 go-to plays that will calm you down and bring you back to center because you know you can execute those 5 plays under any circumstances, you know them back of your hand. You can do them. So when things start going crazy, he says, in the middle of the game, I'll walk up to the quarterback and I'm like, hey, we're getting a little bit off track. We're getting off base. I need you to call the plays, take them from your bank of plays.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not the guy under center. I'm not the guy that's actually sitting there seeing it. He knows which one of those 5 plays is going to be successful because he's in the middle of it, but he's already prepared that and he knows that. So that's the basis.
I think I have you on sports program right now, but I think I really should have had you on the business segment because you developed this for sports, it looks like, but is applicable for business in general, structuring your life and what have you. So I was looking over what those 5 plays, it looked like you had 7 plays or more. Run down the 5 plays.
Yeah, one of the things, so I'll give you just my 5 because there's, Dontel has his 5 in there as well. So the first thing that I always tell you is that you got to set goals. And that goes with that whole process of where you headed. If you haven't set a goal and you don't know what you're trying to achieve, it's impossible to get there. So you have to be able to come in and set goals before anything else. What is it that you want? I always ask people to define that. The second thing, excuse me, I talk about is being a student of your industry or game. We all know about watching game film. We all know about learning the rules. You've got to be a student of your game. You got to continue to improve your skills and learn. So if I were put into a new situation and I'm going into a new industry or I'm going into a new sport, I got to learn everything about it. So that second play of mine is to go study and really be into your playbook. Third thing is to build a solid team around you. Why is that important? Sports, life, business, you've got to have people around you that have the same goals and objectives. If you've got people pulling in different directions, you're not going to be very successful. So you need to have people around you and a team around you that not only are you guys pulling in the same direction, but where you have a weakness, someone on your team has a strength, and you're going to be much stronger with them around you. So the third thing that I do is always go out and build a team and make sure that we're on the same page, right? And I'm going to give you an example. Excuse me. And this is in the ebook as well. Deion Sanders was a client of mine at one point. And we were out doing a pitch meeting, and Dion was explaining to them about how he was not a showboat just to bring attention on himself. Okay. So you think of Dion and he's all braggadocious and he's out there. He says, let me tell you something. When I'm out there returning a kick, for example, it's not just me that allows me to run that thing back 100 yards. Sometimes blocking and tackling is that bad and I can just do it. But in reality, I need every guy on that field to do his job in order for me to run and score the touchdown, right? So people are saying, well, then why are you calling the attention to yourself? Because Dion used to be known, he'd do all of the like this before the kick came off. And he goes, well, here's the thing. When I go out on the field and I do that, the attention is called on me. If I don't score the touchdown, I take all the criticism. And it may have been the other guy that missed the block, but I've drawn the attention off of my guys and put it on me. And they know that. If I don't perform and I don't do my job, if they make their block and I miss my cut, oh man, they know I'm not going to do that though. But I've taken the attention off of them because I need everybody on the same page to do their job and be part of the team. So build your team, pay a lot of attention to your team and make sure you're all on the same page. Fourth play that I like to run is networking. We're doing it almost virtually here between you and I. Your network is of vital importance because you only know as much as you know. Your network is what helps you get to the answers of the stuff that you don't know, or get to that CEO that you might need an introduction to. Your network, you never know who the most important person in your network is until you need them. That's why you have to continue to network and continue to meet people and talk to people and work with people, because you don't know when you're going to need somebody in the network. So spend the time to go out and network. I always tell you, when your toilet's backed up at midnight, the plumber is the most important person in your network, but you don't know that until that emergency comes up. So spend the time talking to people, learning to people, networking, getting the business cards, getting their contact, because you never know when you're going to need them. And then my fifth part on there, fifth play, and this one's going to sound strange because of what I do for a living, having been general manager, having ran organizations, CEO of a couple of companies. Hire a coach. I don't mean hire a coach to work for you. I mean hire a coach to coach you. So my fifth play in my playbook is I have a coach that I meet with every Friday morning for an hour. And I go through what I've done for the past week, just like I do in sports, just like that game film review every week that we went through in football. I do it in business. I've got a coach because a coach can see things that you can't. You're too close, you're too deep into it. That coach could be a mentor, it could be a parent, it could be a teacher, but it's someone that you've got that they got to be honest with you though. That's the other key to that. It's got to be somebody that they're not worried about hurting your feelings. They're going to tell you the absolute truth, and they're going to tell you how to guide the way through it. Because a lot of times we get our personal selves, we get so locked in on what we want to do, we can't see. Remember I mentioned coach said, hey, here's these 5 plays. Sometimes we can't see when we're out of sorts, and we need coach to pull us over and go, hey, it's all right. Everything's good. Let's walk back through the process. What play in your playbook do we need to run right now? Oh, you need to build a better team? Boom. Oh, you need to enhance your network. You need to go on Cascade Sports and talk to Carlos so that you can get more exposure and learn more people on how to spread your message. Boom. Coach will identify some of those things and see some of those things where we may not. So that's my 5 plays that I live by.
Yeah, I looked at some Dante's plays. I thought they were your plays at first because it came up first.
Right, he's first. Yeah.
I think I could learn some things from that. I know about all of that. I don't use it to a degree. I'm saying his plays. I think your plays had more to do with how I deal, but his plays is how you move things forward and being considerate and all of that. I try to be, but it's hard when you are delivering the message that I'm delivering.
Right.
And that's the quandary in the playbook per se. On the messages that you're delivering and how you want the people to receive that message. I think all of those plays, his 5 and your 5, are definitely a roadmap to success. And that's coming from someone who has started. I've started from scratch, like maybe 5 or 6 businesses that were halfway successful on the on the scale of what Black people can do from scratch with no money. All right. But I would have got much farther in some things had I had the playbook to a degree, but having that coach to say, ho, you're going to get back in the playbook.
Yeah.
Because you insulting people and you're doing this and doing that, but yet you want to reach this goal. You're not going to reach it that way. So I really get it after looking over that.
Yeah, and I love that coaching piece. It's one of the reasons why I enjoy talking with you, because it's having that different perspective and different experience where it's able to come in and help out. And like you say, sometimes my coach tells me I need to be more of an a-hole, but I don't see it until they bring it up and go, well, you need to stay true to the message. You need to go ahead and make this comment. You're holding back and not saying it. And then other times they're going, whoa,
doing a little too much.
Like that, did you? So yeah, that's one of my favorites in the group.
So in closing, what would you have to say to our audience? I'm going to say, what would you have to say to our coaches from an athletic standpoint, and then what would you have to say? And it might be the same message to entrepreneurs.
That is interesting, whether that's a different message. So one of the things, excuse me, from a coach perspective, and it doesn't matter what level coach you are, whether it's down at the 5th grade youth sport level, all the way up to these minor leagues. I worked with a guy that had a baseball academy, and he used to tell all the kids that came through the academy, he used to tell them it's all practice until you get to the majors. Coaches have to remember we're about developing. We're about coming in and guiding. A coach can see who's the most talented person to be in a specific role or position on the field. The job of the coach is very difficult because you have to remove your ego, and remember, it's about developing the people on your team to achieving their maximum capabilities. If you're able to do that, obviously you reap the rewards of wins and losses as well, because you're the person standing there guiding and doing that. But that's where those things come into play. You got to have your own playbook as well. There are times when you are, as a coach, you're going to lose control. Situation's going to get crazy. Are you capable of calling that timeout and going, all right, I've been here before. I know how to do this. What play do I need to run right now? And then go through. Perfect example. So I'm coaching my son's basketball team. This is last winter. And we had this game. I'm losing my composure because we are just getting slaughtered. And this is 4th grade basketball, right? Doesn't mean anything. But we are just getting slaughtered. The kids don't know what they're doing. We're getting beat back on defense. They're not hustling. Nothing that I tell them is making sense. They're not having fun. I'm frustrated. The parents are yelling at the referees, everything going crazy. I call the timeout. got my assistant coach. And I'm like, Coach, I don't know what to do. Everything is crazy. So I pull the boys out. You're supposed to huddle over on the sideline. I pulled all the boys out to the free throw line. It's middle of the game. And we're at the free throw line. I said, guys, it's the second quarter. Y'all don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. But we all came to give it our best effort. I didn't put you in the best position. So I'm going to let the assistant coach, I'm going to let him tell you what defense we're running for the second half. And we're going to flow with him. And we're just going to have fun, not look at the scoreboard. And we're going to figure out where everybody needs to be, because I'm not seeing it right now. I can't figure it out. Walked away, let him finish the rest of the timeout. We came out in the second half. We still lost the game because we were down by like 20 points, but had our best second half to that point. After that, we won like our next 2-3 games. Defense played better, kids communicated better, everybody worked as a team. And what the difference was because as a coach of a sports team, you have to be willing to say, I don't know all the answers. Let me put you in the best position to be successful. And then you go out and perform. When you need help, I'll give it to you. But at the end of the day, you have to perform. It's not that much difference in business either. If you have employees, you have to empower them to be in the best position for them to achieve their goals. It does all end up trickling up if you do that correctly. But that's the thing in business. If we're not all performing on the same page, we're not all on the same wavelength, kind of like if you're building a network, but everybody on the network is out for their own good and nobody's worried about helping each other out and helping build up the other one, we're never going to get where we need to go. You may have your own individual successes, but until you build that entire group around you, you can be Allen Iverson, but you might not get a ring.
Hold it. They say, I always tell, especially young people, when you have acronyms and different things like the grass is always greener on the other side of the street, and what goes around comes around.
Mm-hmm.
I apply this to your conversation. Teamwork makes the dream work. And those axioms don't come about by accident. They've been used throughout mankind, per se, and they see teamwork makes it happen, no matter sports, business, personal life, family.
Right.
Teamwork makes the dream work, but most of us still don't get that. So, in closing, as we always close, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
This program is brought to you by the City of Fountains Coaches Association.